Hey, what is up guys? Jack and Matt here with the Toasty Bros, and today we're going to be doing an $1,100 Marvel gaming PC.
Let's get right into it, shall we? But first, a word from today's sponsor.
This video is brought to you by Pulseway.
Whether you're an IT professional or just somebody who has a lot of systems that they need to monitor, Pulseway is an awesome way to monitor system specs, temperatures, readouts, and everything that you may need to know about a system, and it's accessible via a mobile app and even from a web browser.
We actually set it up on all of our systems at the office so that we can monitor on the go to make sure that none of our systems are blowing up.
So if you're interested in checking out Pulseway, please use the link in the description down below. There's a free version you can try out, and use the link down below because it helps us out. So let's get right into this video, shall we? So we want to give a big thanks to Rosewilll because they actually reached out to us because they were interested in our last PC mod that we did with the Tech Avengers, and they want us to do somewhat of a similar theme. So we decided to reach out to our friends at V1 Tech and get some custom backplates and cables sent to us so we can make a Marvel themed PC. And well, today we're going to be... Wow, did you see that? Depending if this thing still works, it's gonna look really good in this PC mod. So let's go ahead and talk about the parts that we chose, and keep in mind, we did part this out a couple months ago, so you might wanna do some upgrades to it.
So what we have here is the Ryzen 2600. This is a prime example of one thing you should upgrade, but you know what? The 2600 being 6-core 12-thread is still a really good processor, and it is cheaper now that 3rd gen is out. So, you know, you don't have to upgrade it, but the 3600 is pretty darn good, as you can see in another video, which maybe we'll throw in like the left, the right, some corner, you know, and check that out as well. But Ryzen 2600 for this build here.
Now to cool the Ryzen 5 2600, we have this Rosewill PB240-RGB, which is a 240mm liquid cooler from Rosewilll.
So we wanted to go a little bit nicer with the motherboard, so we got the MSI B450 Gaming Plus board, which has all kinds of cool lights. It's kind of like a red and black themed, which really fits in with what exactly we're going for here with this Marvel PC build. And massive thanks to Gigabyte, as always, coming through clutch. We have the RTX 2060. This is the Gaming OC Pro 6G. It's the 3-fan version, and it has some RGB on it, which will really help us out for this build to make it all RGB-ified. And once again, as far as us ordering these parts a couple months ago, they now have the 2060 Super, and the 2060 is no longer with us, sad face, but basically really similar cards. So if you guys want to check the description down below, we will have the right one listed. And big thanks to Team Group. We have 16 gigs, 2 8-gig sticks at 3200. Oh my gosh, I almost said the wrong frequency. 3200 megahertz, very fast RAM, and it's white, it's RGB, so it's also going to help us out RGB-ify this build.
Now for storage, we went with the WD Blue 500GB M.2 SSD. Now this is just your standard M.2, but it's not NVMe, but the main reason we went with this is to save on cables, because when you want to make a really cool custom mod, if you don't have to have ugly cables in the way, you can definitely avoid it. So that's why we went with this, because it goes nicely into the motherboard, and it is from a reputable brand like Western Digital. Now for the power supply. In all honesty, this is just a 500 watt power supply like the Thermaltake Smart, but it has an RGB fan on it. And well, since we're going with this modded theme, a RGB fan will, you know, add to the modded theme a little bit, even though it's gonna be hidden in this power supply basement. But whatever, you know, RGB power supply, add to the aesthetics, and it's honestly a decent power supply. We use it in a recent build on the channel, actually. Now, as far as the actual modifications go, we got this awesome backplate from V1 Tech. This is a Marvel logo that also has a galaxy background, and honestly it looked really cool, and you can actually make your own backplate like this on their website, so please use the link in the description down below if you want to buy something from V1 Tech. The customization options are honestly like endless, because you can do whatever you want in their customizer, and honestly they will work with you to make whatever you have in mind come to reality. So this is going to actually look really cool on the graphics card. And we also got some sleeve cables, white and red. This is basically Marvel themed colors, white and red, works perfectly fine. And also we got it with the 24 pin, the GPU power, and the CPU power in mind. And lastly, for the modification, we're going back to my roots and doing a little bit of a sticker bomb mod with this case. We got these Marvel themed stickers that we're going to cover this power supply basement with, to add a little bit of a extra modification to this case, and overall make a really cool Marvel themed PC. So how about we go ahead and put the system together, shall we? This case right here is the Spectra D100 that they tasked us to do a mod with. As I mentioned before, we're going to be adding some stickers to the power supply basement, and then we're going to be using this custom liquid cooler to basically make this thing look really awesome and have the flexibility of RGB to kind of tune the colors to what we want it to look like for this Marvel themed PC. So how about we go ahead and get right to it, shall we?
No.
ever sees me, I'm losing every battle. No one ever sees me, I'm losing every battle. No one ever sees me, I'm losing every battle. Can somebody save me, I'm losing every battle.
So we were pretty impressed with how this thing turned out. We have all these really nice stickers in the basement there. And it really didn't take us too long. We did have to sort through some DC stickers because Amazon, you know, sometimes they don't always get everything right, but stickers look good. We had to put some stickers on the M.2 drive because there was blue, and Matt came up with a smart idea of putting stickers behind the Marvel logo because we kind of forgot that the GPU backplate has Gigabyte written on it, which is fine Gigabyte, but in this case we needed to hide you.
Now, in terms of benchmarks, this system actually performed pretty well. As we mentioned before, the hardware that's in here is not the most up-to-date. Now, does that mean it's crap hardware? No, it actually performs very well in games. The Ryzen 5 2600 is still a great processor, even though the Ryzen 5 3600 still exists. And the RTX 2060, while it's not on sale anymore from NVIDIA because of the 2060 Super, is still a great card. Some alternatives that I would suggest is maybe going with the 3600 or 3600X, and then maybe going with an RTX 2060 Super, or if you're an AMD fan out there, go with something like the 5700 and 5700 XT once those aftermarket cards release. But in games like Fortnite and our normal benchmarking suite of Far Cry 5, Deus Ex Mankind Divided, and Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Siege, we were getting well over 100 FPS on ultra settings 1080p, making this a really awesome high refresh rate gaming computer. The RAM was actually really easy to overclock as well. I went to the BIOS directly without any BIOS updates, and I was easily able to set this RAM to 3200 megahertz, which, as we did in a previous video, you know is very important for Ryzen platforms when it comes to getting the most possible frames out of your system. So overall, in terms of performance, the system performed like a champ, and with some modifications and some upgrades here and there, it can actually perform even more.
So big thanks again to Rosewilll for sending over this really nice Spectra case. You can see it came with all these really nice RGB fans, which we kind of played around some of the RGB. It looks really good. We do have it set to a nice static red right now. And also thanks for this really awesome all-in-one liquid cooler. Same type of fans, actually plugs right into the hub that they have pre-installed to this. So big props to Rosewilll for doing that.
Really big fan of the airflow in the front with the mesh front. You're used to seeing a lot of things like fully tempered glass all the way around, but this thing is a really good airflow case because of the mesh. And honestly, we give it a big thumbs up if you're interested in a case like this, and you can do a little bit of modding if you're interested in that.
So as always, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
And we will see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.